What do people think about AI creating art? Is there a use for it?
Yes, of course. So if you, so the first question is, you know, again, you know, what is digital art? And what is creativity? So is design part of creativity? So digital arts, the way that I look at it is that if there's someone who appreciates and gets some arousal from looking at some artifact, then I would think it's art. And we've seen now that people have paid a lot of money for digital art. And there was like AI created music and AI created art that has been sold for huge amounts of money. So I find it very fascinating, and I do think that's a space. The Gauguin that I showed you, I think what it does, it's like for someone like myself, it makes art more accessible, because I'm terrible at sketching or drawing. And if I can use this tool, it means that I can be part of this creative community. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yes, I suppose that would be true. I mean, I've heard of people who, as a hobby, copy famous artworks, and that is so that they can enjoy it in more detail and relive what maybe the artist was experiencing while they were painting. So maybe this will have the same kind of function for members of the public who aren't particularly into art, but would like to enjoy it more thoroughly.
So just a comment on that. So these techniques will actually, so you could seed it with, let's say, 20 pieces of art or digital images of 20 pieces of art that you really like, and it will create one that is completely unique and new and different from those 20 pieces. Yes. But it should be in a similar genre to what you like, because the genre would be represented by those 20 pieces. So in terms of creativity, you've got something completely new that has come out. And then the question is, because it was computer generated, would you consider that to be art? That's an interesting question, and that's not a question for me to answer.
Right. That question was for the audience. I'm very glad that you answered it, however. Can I throw it open to the audience? What do you think? Is it art if a machine has created it? And is it useful? We're not venturing an answer by the looks of it. Of course, these are things that we will keep on chewing on and thinking about. So it is the thought-provoking is very useful indeed.
I've got a question for the audience. Is that would artists use tools like this?
What do you think, audience? I don't know if Mbongeni is still in the audience. If we could have his opinion. No, Mbongeni seems to have gone. Judging the quality, well, with functional quality, of course, you would decide on the basis of the functionality of it. But if it is some form of art, whether it's music or another art form, it would depend on the human response to it, I think, would be the way to judge the quality. And it is indeed a fuzzy area. It's not a hard science. This is where the sciences and the arts differ enormously, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is very interesting for me that the department initiated the ICT RDI roadmap, and that this kind of work flows from that. I think it's a very worthwhile area to invest in. And then the multidisciplinary approach that you were referring to. It's fascinating that you've got ethics involved at University of Pretoria, I think you said.
Yes, in the Pretoria, in the philosophy department.
Right.
It's a philosopher. And in the conference, in our AI conference, we actually have 3 tracks, and one of them is the ethics of AI track. It's the philosophy and social science, the humanities and AI.
Yes. Oh, very interesting. I think that's the right way to go, to have, yes, people with other insights and not from the ICT or the science side only. So that is wonderful to hear about.
What did you think of the interface that I showed you with that digital animated character, which was like kind of a companion?
Yes, I think it's wonderful. I think it's a bit like the current assistants like Alexa, that you can actually have a conversation with of sorts, and that you can tell what to do. This just seems like a more empathetic, kind model of an assistant. I was kind of wondering, what if this guy gets a girlfriend or a wife? How would they feel about?
In fact, that's the big issue. And that's
sure
that was caused the controversy. To the extent that I think in some of the, I think it's Japan and South Korea. I think it was in Japan. There was a person who actually married the character.
Ah. And so we have human and machine being blended.
Yes, that's and I think it was a religious funeral for another character. So it's a very cultural. For me, it was I'd not even thought of that until I saw this presentation.
Yes.
Last year. It only then dawned on me on how different, like the cultural background, how different, like how it affects the technology, the use of technology and the approach to technology. And I think we need to, why I find this forum interesting is about what is the South African approach to technology? Because it should be unique and should be, and I don't know exactly what that is.
Right. Yeah. I think we could start with a character on our GPSs that can pronounce our street names. That's always very strange that they cannot do that. Even Mandela Drive, it becomes.
Yes. Yeah, so there are some, I think, a lot of work in natural language processing, the use of AI for Nguni languages. So I think there's nationally there's a lot of work in that, and to create a corpus of both text and on the speech side. Databases for AI on that side, because there was definitely a big lack of that. So that's the reason, because the AI has been trained on accents from overseas, and it wasn't really the local data to train these kind of AI agents.
Right. Could AI learn pronunciation from just listening to us speak, to listening to human interaction.
Yes, absolutely. It's I think that's one of its. So in the same way that when you use your when you're typing, I think it's either WhatsApp or your messages on your phone, it starts learning. It starts adapting to your what you type, and it starts remembering the way you say things, and translating that notion to voice is certainly possible.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Hmm.
That might actually help with our translations to and from the African languages in South Africa.
Hmm. Was Ubuntu Land ever discussed? I wasn't here for the full day yesterday.
No, I don't think there was mention of it. If someone actually heard it, please speak up.
If you don't know about it, you must go and have a look at it. I think, I don't know whether it's a commercial entity, but it's going to create a kind of metaverse, an African metaverse. And you can, and I think there's already at least one artist, I think a prominent artist, South African artist, who's using that as a marketplace to showcase their art.
Oh, fantastic. That is very interesting. When you were saying at the beginning that AI is not an independent technology, but part of digital technology, that seemed to back up Prof Bruton's conception that we're not in the fourth industrial revolution, but in post-industrial revolutions.
Sorry, I saw there was a question and I lost the, can you just clarify that comments about within the context of AI?
Yes, yes, Prof Bruton was saying we're not in the fourth industrial revolution, we're post-industrial revolutions. And so
okay.
The digital technologies don't distinguish. They are part of the third industrial revolution. If he didn't actually put it that way, but we've had discussions about the 4R before, and people prefer to see it that way as part of the third industrial revolution. And you said not an independent technology, but part of digital technology. So I found that interesting because we usually think of AI as being a 4IR technology.
I have a different, so you might have noticed that in my talk, I never mentioned any industrial revolution.
Yes.
I actually find that a very strange way of looking at things. And I think, you know, those have become like buzzwords, because how can you put a boundary between things? For me, things evolve. So, you know, were they 5, were they 3, were they 2? Where was the start and the end? And of course, there were some milestones. But like if you ask then if AI is core to the fourth industrial revolution or the most recent one, then when did it start and when did it end? And it's very hard. So for me, what has changed is precisely this. So if we look at it from an art perspective, the notion that a machine can create. So a machine can build other machines, and the machine can do things that it was not originally created for. And that for me is something very profound, because now you've got something that's just not human created. Because the machine, it's I think now already in some of these kind of, so I'll give you an example. In the chess, or more recently this game called Go, the AI actually invented strategies and which no human player had ever seen before. now that is something profound.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so for me, that's the change, or key change that's which now changes like where we're heading, because now you don't just have humans creating things, the humans creating machines to create things, and that's in terms of our technology evolution, that changes things. It's the trajectory has changed.
Yes.
I see there's a question in the chat. Should I respond to that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the question is, do we want AI to replace humans, and what danger is there if they start thinking like us? And we have many of them from a robotics point of view. I do not want AI to replace humans. I think this is one of the big dangers that I think very early on, there were prominent personalities that said things like AI is more dangerous than nuclear weapons. And so this idea of the singularity where the machines take over, for me it's something to keep an eye on, but I don't necessarily see that's where AI is heading. I see more progress towards this augmented AI. Now, someone in some research lab or in their garage could probably stumble on this kind of singularity where you get the super intelligent machine which starts taking over things like you see in, I think, hundreds of movies. But the chances of that is very slim, because the investment, or put another way, like if you ask, why did we end up sending someone to the moon so many years ago, and we haven't sent, well, I don't think we've sent someone back again, or the Americans haven't, is because there was a huge investment in money into the science and technology that produced it. And if you look at where the huge investment in terms of resourcing that's going into research and innovation in AI, it's by the big tech companies. And they are definitely looking towards building human-computer interfaces. It's things that humans can consume, or it's augmenting a human. So there's much better chances of that happening. And it's already happening. And again, don't underestimate what you're doing with Google. So the question is, has Google taken over? In some ways, yes, because there's no one uses paper maps anymore. And I'm so worried about our spatial reasoning skills, because in a couple of years, no one will be able to read a map properly, or a paper map. But that's very different from it completely taking over. And there's some dangers to that. But yeah, so I think it's unlikely in the next 20 to 30 years that you can get super intelligence. I do think that the augmented AI, where you're going to get computers working with people, like creating things, or maybe more like if you've watched the Iron Man movie and you saw Jarvis, this kind of co-creation type of effort. Right. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Yes, no, that was a wonderful answer. Let's see what the new message says. Sybil says, thanks for that answer. Yes, I think the science fiction movies have really made us terrified of robots and the ability of machines to be intelligent. But I'm reassured by your answers. So it's, thank you very much for that.
So just a follow-up on that is, if you think of it's very interesting. The first self-driving car, I think, was piloted by Uber in Pittsburgh many years ago. And it's, self-driving cars, there's been some aspects of vehicles which are autonomous, but it's not pervasive. I mean, we don't walk out on the street, or even in the American movies, you don't see 80% of cars are self-driving cars. So you can see that, yeah, technology doesn't move in these kinds of linear fashions. So yeah, but yet in Africa, smartphones. I think 10 years ago, someone told me most people in Africa will never afford a smartphone.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's pervasive. So
who knows what the future will bring, actually.
yes.
Deshen, thank you very much for your presentation today. As I said, was very thought-provoking, certainly very good to hear about what Morocco is doing and about this, coalition that you have all over the country with 8 universities. Well, CAIR. 10 research groups, 2 emerging groups, and across 8 universities. That is so exciting. And I think the best way of collaboration now is that you collaborate where the expertise is, and you're not confined to one research institution. So thank you very much for your presentation and for interacting with us as well. And I wish you the best, and I hope that we'll be in touch again.
Thank you.
Everyone, we've now come to the end of our program. We are just about on time, 5 minutes over. Thank you for staying till the end. I am very pleased that we've had such a good audience, and we've had such good presentations and discussions. Please have a look at the NSTF website. The link is in the chat. Now, I don't know if you can retain the chat. Maybe we should put that on our website, or some of those posts on our website so that you can see it, or maybe in our, I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about how we can make that accessible. But certainly everything about this discussion forum will be on the website. Some of the presentations are already there. Professor Marwala's presentation was in the form of a speech. He didn't have PowerPoint slides, so we'll make the speech available as well. And we'll be sending out a survey for you to complete for today. The yesterday's has already been circulated. So please just take 5 minutes to respond to those surveys and help us with quality control and ensuring relevance. Thank you very much. Have a good day further, and keep well and safe, and we will see you again.